do it.
Oh,
You've done
we are
it.
live.
Yay.
Cheers.
Woohoo.
Hello, everyone. You have to be stuck with me doing the intro today. The pirate princess and her dad are not with us anymore. No, just kidding. That sounded very scary. That's not what I meant. They are not with us tonight. It's ladies only's night. No little girls or men allowed. No, just kidding. So, welcome to another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt around the Gatsby Island islands with me, Queen Ray, and also I don't think you ever got this intro, the great and powerful
Oh my God.
Mirjam. And
Stop
how do
it.
we say your last name?
Aulbach,
Olbach. Like
basically.
of Conference Buddy. So today we're going to do a little bit of an update, see what Mirjam has been up to, and then I am going to show a little trick that I have up my sleeve for making Markdown marketing pages instead of using a kind of CMS or get dependent on something like that. We could just use Markdown files, which is like my favorite, and often also for a side project, it's nice because it's cheap. With the Jamstack, I was on a podcast last week, and we ended up like talking a little bit about how with the Jamstack, like with all these different services, if we just like pick, like it can end up being quite expensive. And as long as there's just going to be a couple of people who are probably developers updating the information, it could be nice to just keep it as Markdown files, for the like the content heavy pages, and not have to like suddenly have to pay for another service, because now you have Supabase, which I guess is the only one, and you're hosting on Netlify. So those are the two potential costs that you might run into. But yeah, so that's it. So what have you been up to the last week? Do you want your screen on there? Do you want to add your screen?
And I really hope nothing is going wrong now. Okay. So
of course it's going to go wrong. Demo is always.
Probably.
If it doesn't crash, something is wrong.
Yeah. On Monday, I wanted to show a friend my progress, and I just implemented something, and I wanted to show it to her, and then I went in an endless loop, and my app crashed, so that was pretty bad. I hope that is not happening today. We talked last week about the authentication process in Conference Buddy. And I actually implemented it, like we talked about. So as you can see, as you should, I have to use a private window, because I actually am signed in. So
yeah, but it does say create the profile, which is nice.
Oh, wait, I have shared my wrong screen. Sorry, I shared only my browser. Sorry, I have to change that.
Well, John is here, and Ola.
Hello, John.
Ola is screaming from the background.
Where's Ola coming from? So nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, he's just downstairs watching over the princess. But so I promised to say hello, and making pirate lunch sounds awesome. I had some really good pirated dinner today, I feel like. Okay, did you share?
Nice. Yeah, now I have the right one. Sorry. Okay. Yes. So as you can see, I'm not signed in or anything. So I hope it works. I just deleted my entry in the database and all. So if I now go to sign in, it will get me to GitHub, and is that my account? I hope so. Okay, sorry. I'm confused. Okay.
I'm gonna take you off screen while you
sorry.
enter your credentials.
You should not see that anyway.
My computer is off. What a stream. My computer, like it didn't have any electricity. That might be why it was like trying to.
Okay. That explains things.
Well, that explains things. Okay. Are we back? Should I add again?
No, not yet. Sorry.
Okay.
Got confused. Where's my? Oh,
wow.
See,
not missing anything. Not missing anything yet, John. So it's all good.
Everything is fine.
But I think, John, you want to hang out for the Markdown pages later
Okay,
on because that's
now
up
you
your
can.
alley. Okay, I'll add you back to the stream.
So yeah, you just missed that I signed in
Mhm.
GitHub with my GitHub credentials, and now we have this kind of alert thingy. I made it like the whole length of the page, so I think it's a bit more visible, and this is now appearing on every page. And I still have no functionality in this button here to be a lurker or a conference buddy. I can go to the detailed pages for conferences, but yeah, that's it. And it now says, okay, you're authenticated. Thank you for that, but please create a profile. And maybe I also would add a link to a page that maybe explains why we need a profile. I'm not sure about that yet. And now I can go to create profile here in this link or here. And now this is a really UX heavy, UI friendly form.
I don't know. Like, so the screen, I can almost not see your screen. There's something weird with StreamYard where it's like breaking up. But I don't know if it's just for me or if it's for everyone. I tried to ask in the chat, but I don't think we have an abundance of watchers like right now. But we'll just keep on going because there's nothing really we can do.
That's true.
It could just be like our Wi-Fi not being good enough.
Yeah, you see the most important parts, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
okay, and if I now submit the form, I now have created a user page, and now I can go to my profile. This is my private profile, and just to show how it would look like, I also added a link. I mean, it should not be here, but this is what I thought a public profile could look like, and
looks good.
Yeah, it's a bit boring, but I mean, it's okay. And most of this information is actually not yet in the database. I have to put things like that in. But I thought it could look something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
But
one
it's
thing.
always good to have a little bit of like a draft so you know what you're working towards before you have the, because at least when I work on the design side, like I can change my mind so many times. So it's often if I end up going back and like restructuring the data model for every design idea I have, that can be very time consuming. So it's nice to kind of have a little bit of it's not really design, but like what kind of information do I want on here? Like it helps you, and then you can go back and like finalize it in the database.
Yeah, totally. I feel the same. And that's funny because I tend to work in another way normally, but I'm working in existing projects at work. So I'm more about thinking things through before, structuring things, planning things, and then building things. And here I'm just building to kind of see where I go from there. So like here I noticed, okay, I should probably add something where people can put in links to their social profiles. Oh my God, we need a picture and stuff like that. And I noticed that while building this. Yeah, so this is the authentication and profile workflow, which I really like. I'm happy we talked about that.
Good.
And the next thing I did was we added together with Benedict this comments table in the database. I renamed it to buddy posts. Not sure if that's the best name, but it's kind of, it would later be if you click that button, so you want to be conference buddy, you can add something. It's like a comment, but it's actually a post about you wanting to be a conference buddy in a conference. So a buddy post. I'm bad at naming. And this is actually now coming from the database. As you can see, the picture is static, like it's not from the database yet. That's currently always me. And yeah, this is
you mean Paul True? It's not it does not have that
me.
image.
True. I mean, maybe no.
Well, you can have several personalities. I wouldn't know.
That's true. And here's also, I think it has the most important information, like the name, a picture, a link to the public profile also, which is also me because it's static right now. Time of the post. From the comments are ordered, like the newest is first. And I am not sure, we don't see it because it's too fast. But I also followed your advice to put the data really near where I need it and use loading animations or like a loading thing in between, because Bootstrap actually has a loading class, which was really easy to add. So even if something goes wrong with the data, if there's an error, it still will load fast, but you will see a loading until something else happens. That's what I did.
And it's also very good with the loading. One thing is that it shows the loading indication. It also kind of keeps that space for the data that's going to come in, because otherwise, like you know, people watching might have seen, often when you go to a page and then you first see the static version and then it starts to like sprinkle in dynamic data, everything shifts around the page. So if you know that something is going to come in that spot and it's going to come fairly quickly, and not on a user interaction, it's very nice to like keep that space available for that data coming in. And like a tiny trick that you can use is that you can use the non-breaking space character. So if you know there's going to be a line, there's going to be a paragraph tag, and there's going to be some information, there's going to be one line, or if it's a link or whatever, because it collapses if there's nothing in there. If you have like a anchor link or a paragraph tag, it collapses, the space collapses if there's nothing inside. So then you can have, like, if the name isn't available yet, you just show a non-breaking space, which is like ampersand NBSP semicolon, and then you get like a invisible space, and it takes up, but it makes the paragraph not collapse on itself, or like the tag collapse on itself. Anyway, so that's if you don't have a nice loading indicator, you can just put a non-breaking space in there and you're good to go. Well, that is some great progress. I would just really love if somebody watching could tell me if the screen sharing is looking super weird for you as well, because then we might have to do a little bit of a refresh. But so please let me know that in the comments if it's like because for me it's like all janky. Like it's like art. I need to take a picture of this.
Yeah,
it's like abstract art. Your screen is abstract art for me.
Yeah, I also see a bit of abstract art, but I thought it's maybe
I thought so okay, well we're gonna share. I guess I'm gonna share my screen. Yes, because we are moving into a Markdown land. So I'm gonna add a comment here for people coming in. Markdown marketing pages, Markdown marketing pages happening. Okay, I'm going to move you off the screen. I'm going to add my screen, and then I need my little cheat sheet. So unfortunately, I didn't have time to add all of the packages we might need to the project. So we'll do some chatting in between, hopefully, to talk. And I'm using Yarn 1 and you're probably using Yarn 2, so I'm not going to check. I'm going to start by checking out the branch that we'll call stream work, so that you can have a look at it later when you're going to implement this. So okay, so the idea is that we want to do Markdown pages Markdown page code. I can't. Oh my god. Okay, drinking some more wine, that will probably help.
Definitely.
We're going to use Markdown for our marketing pages. And often what happens with Markdown pages, is that they are just a wall of text. But usually for our marketing pages, we want sections. So that's what we're going to look at today, how we can implement sections with Markdown. So first off, let's have a little bit of look to see if you have, because you don't have the marketing, you don't have Markdown in here.
I had one and I removed
you had it and then you removed it. So we'll do what I usually do, which is I'll head on over to the documentation, because I never remember what these things are called. Yeah, so John says he heard art. Yes, the screen has an issue, but it looks like my screen is not having an issue right now.
Yeah,
so
looks
hopefully
good for me too.
Yeah. So Gatsby, a transformer Markdown, or transformer remark. So that's what we want to use. So first we need to source the files, and I guess you don't have the file. You don't have the file system yet either.
No.
So we'll need to implement. We need that is fine. Well, let's start the correct way. So first we need the source file system. Source file system. So people who have been with us for a long time, I've probably done this quite a few times, but we're going to do some interesting things where we are going to ask them not to build pages for certain files. So there's going to be a little, like a new trick in there. So let's do yarn add Gatsby source file system. I should probably do them all at once, but I'm not doing that. Oh boy, there's so many warnings, but I'm just gonna
Just ignore it.
Yeah. So the Gatsby source file system is that we say that we want to source files from the file system, and each file that is sourced will then become a file node in our data layer. And then after it's become a file in our data layer, we want to use the Gatsby transformer remark to then take all the files that are Markdown files and do some transformations on them so that we can go from Markdown to HTML. It's kind of the gist of these sourcing systems. So let's add the remark as well. And in the beginning, like I know a lot of people get very annoyed with, yarn add maybe, with the kind of very rigid approach of Gatsby. You have to source everything into the data layer and then you get it out of the data layer. But what's really nice about it is that it does give us this like flexible plug and play with different plugins. So instead of us having to be like, oh, how do we transform Markdown into HTML? We can use the transformer remark that will just look through all of the nodes that are already sourced, and they don't have to come from the file system. We did in an earlier stream, we sourced YouTube descriptions and we made them into Markdown nodes, and then we could use the same Gatsby transformer remark plugin to transform those descriptions from Markdown to HTML. So when you start kind of getting the hang of it, it becomes very flexible and you can get a lot more done without having to kind of recreate the wheel, I guess, again and again. Do we say recreate the wheel in English? At least we say that in Norwegian. But
we say that in Germany too. I'm not sure about English.
Do we say that in English? Who knows?
So I mean, we do it now.
We do now on this show. We do it now on this show. So we'll have to configure our plugin, and as you can see, you can give it a name. Like usually we don't. I ended up not using those as much, but we want to say where it's going to come from. And I like to put it not inside of source. I like to have my content outside of source. Mm-hmm. So I usually call it content. I have a folder that's called content, and then I just put everything straight in there, and I let the directory of what's inside of content become the paths that we want to use. Mm-hmm. So we just do content, but it can be called pages because these are going to be our pages. So we are searching from the file system, and then we need to transform we need to transform the Markdown files into Markdown, and I'm just going to remove all of these. We're going to use some of that after, so I'm going to keep it like, one of these with options because we might need some of that later. Okay, so let's add some content then. So what I usually do then is I make a folder for each page. So we'll have the index page. We'll try to recreate our index page. And then inside of there, we need an index markdown. This seems a little weird now, but I'm going to explain or show why. So the title, conference buddy. And then we can just have a lot of content in there. And I usually like to use hipster lorem for that. Oh, Scott is in the house. Hello, Happy New Year. Whee! We're going back to the back to basics with Markdown files. So I like to use hipster lorem or hipster ipsum to get my my fake content.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
It's just a little bit more funny than regular lorem ipsum. We got like vegan typewriter, Glossier, affogato. Oh, now I want an affogato. That's the problem with this though, because it's okay, so we have a file, we have it on index, and let's see what happens when we source this. So let's do, you have yarn dev, right? Not develop. I keep writing that wrong.
Yeah. So
Let's see if all
It's
this
just
works. So Scott, are you doing any Gatsby these days, or is it all Svelte? Scott has become a major Svelte fan.
Yeah, okay. Nice.
He's just here to like see us not solve everything so simply as Svelte, I guess. Oh, I'm still on the hipster page. Let's see what's happening. Hopefully it's gonna work.
Probably still running.
Yeah. Because what I want to do now is that I would like to have a look at the our data layer, so we have so we kind of see where we're at by adding these plugins. I guess they're called plugins. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's usually my a lot of my workflow after I got acquainted with the Graphical Explorer, is that I do a lot of the sourcing first and then kind of see where we're at before starting to code. But like my computer is not.
Of course, you're also sharing, right?
I'm also sharing.
I'm
also sharing.
I really liked when you showed me this. I mean, there is an output every time you do yeah, and therefore anything. This is linked. This is GraphQL, but I just ignored it. I'm just like, I'm not sure why I just ignored it. And you showed me that in a stream, and I was like, oh my god, what is happening? And so good. I'm also now always using it, and like, yeah, just looking. What is my data looking like? How should I create, or like I let create my query? Basically, it's really good. It's so cool.
It is. So here we are. We have the all files, which are the files that we have sourced. So there we can see develop index MD. But we're not that interested in the file. We are interested in the all markdown remark. And we now have both. Oh, I have some old stuff in here that we're. So that's interesting though. With it remembers kind of your old ones. So since I, did some things earlier today, it remembers. So it's sneak showing everyone what I'm supposed to do later. Let's not do that.
No.
You're telling on me, GraphQL. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we can see we have the title from what's called the front matter. So what's inside of these lines here is the front matter. And then we have HTML, which is an HTML version of the raw markdown body. We could also have the raw markdown body if we wanted to work with that directly. So that is cool. But how do we get that to be a page? So we can then use our file system route API or parrot pages coming through your inbox tonight. Parrot pages inside of pages here. We can do a new file, and we use the parrots, the curly brackets that we call parrots. And you want to do that for every markdown file. And we want to use, you could use like the parent file name and different things, but I like to use a field that I set myself that I call slug. So that doesn't exist yet. So we would have to create a slug field. So I need to remove your index file, I think.
Oh no, beautiful animation.
Yeah, we're just going to do index 2 for that. Okay, so we do that in the Gatsby node. So for each of the nodes created, we're going to take this from the cheat sheet. So on create node, if it's a markdown remark file, we want to create a slug by using create file path. And what that does is that it kind of uses the path that we have from our content folder. So I like to do that because then we can, so let's make another file. If we do content, new folder, let's say about, you want to make an about page. Ooh,
I see where this is going. This is so nice.
Yeah. Index MD. It's going to be the same content. Very interesting. About conference buddy. If we head on over to our graphical now, if everything has probably hasn't though, what's it called? Rebuilt itself, then we should be able to see the fields. Doesn't look like it has.
Yeah, I think you have to start it again,
Yeah.
probably, because something. Oh no.
Yeah, so let's look at
I
the
mean,
code while it's redoing that. Oh, I didn't start it. There we go.
Oh.
So on create node, this happened like this Gatsby calls, like this is a way to like hook into the same way we do source nodes. You know, it runs through every plugin and then every plugin that has expert source nodes in its Gatsby node file, and our site that has it, like it runs that code in the beginning of build. And then later on, when each node is created, it calls this on create node with the node that is created. And then we say if it's a markdown file, we want to create a slug, and we set a slug onto the field. So we're not allowed to add things to the node specifically here. We cannot do node dot and then slug and set that equal to something, because we are not allowed to change the nodes after creation except for adding fields.
Yeah, makes sense.
So they kind of want a little bit of a control there. So let's see if it's, oh, but this is like, how many conferences have you put in here?
But no, only a few. I'm not sure. And the profiles, but there are only 2.
Okay, there we go. Okay, there we have field slug. So if we look at the slug, we now have index for the index one, and then about for the about one. And then, of course, if we have added another folder under about, or just another now I want to do it, but it's going to be too slow to regenerate. So because this only show the top level. But anyway, like if we made subfolders and sub markdown files, it would kind of correspond with that path. So we get like a proper path to our markdown files. So everything that's inside content, I will follow that file structure, will be our paths. So let's see if we have something. It's probably going to crash now because I'm not exporting anything. It says we can see it is created. It's not created them because I don't think they export anything. So let's head on over to this file. We can then use what we learned from here, where we do, I'm going to cheat sheet this because it's going to take too long otherwise.
Are we using the page query in this case?
Yes, we're using the page query, but we're using it with, yes, we could use this page query, but not fully. So let's just start with that. But we want to do one markdown file, and we want to do it on the ID.
Okay.
Is this going to be okay? Now I'm YOLOing.
Nice. I love it.
You love it when I'm YOLOing. Yeah, we're missing a... Oh, boy. I am not the best graph. In the beginning, I was like, I'm not going to learn graphical, but now I'm like, okay, I need to learn that. Where is some? Do I have one too many? Let's see. We don't need a slug in here. We need the HTML.
Okay.
So this one corresponds to that one. That corresponds to that.
Yeah.
That corresponds to that.
Should be right now.
And that corresponds to that. Why is it not working? Because it should get a little bit of it.
Maybe it needs a bit for the hot module reload for some reason.
I think it's just me who are like not doing this correctly. Okay, let's see. This should work. Oh yeah, I shouldn't have nodes on there. Like that's how it should look like. We're querying for our markdown remark, and we're equating it on the ID. So let's see if we now have a page. Do we have to restart it again?
Oh no, index 2 is ours.
That's yours.
yeah. 2. I just noticed it. It's like, oh my god, index 2.
And then Did I write? Oh, it's not Markdown remark. It's Markdown. It's not Markdown file. It's Markdown remark.
Yeah.
There we go. So the rule here for the file name, is this big enough for everyone?
It looks good to me.
Yeah, I think so. That is way too big.
Yeah.
Okay. So the rule here is that so it's Markdown remark fields _ slug, and that corresponds to, Markdown remark being the node.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be the one on Markdown there, Markdown remark. And then HTML field slug. Yeah, so it's Markdown remark fields. And then to get to the kind of child field there, it's __. And that's how it corresponds.
Yeah.
So now, which hopefully, but we might have to rebuild since, oh, no, we don't. So here we have our data that is sourced. So that's the data coming in here. So let's make a sample page. I'm going to do a little bit of what you have here then. Let's do a page layout.
Sure. It's a nice looking, like just watching somebody code my own project.
Yeah, that's what you said, right?
Yeah.
So I usually deconstruct from the data.
Mm-hmm.
So we do title, and I always do title, but it's front matter. And then it's HTML from the data, Markdown remark. Because we have to like grab the Markdown remark from the data. And then we need to deconstruct the title from the front matter.
Okay.
And I like to do that on top because sometimes when you keep on changing the kind of the sign down here, you want to be able to just say title. And then, if we then make that into its own component, we might not be sending in front matter. So I like to kind of cleanly destructure them on top so we have access to them.
Makes sense.
And then we'll need some kind of div here to add our dangerously set inner HTML.
I never want to use it because it's called dangerously. And I'm like, oh no.
I know, but it is for you to think about, like, do I know that this content coming in is actually something I control? And so since it is coming from our source data and it's Markdown and it's coming from our file system, like, yes, you can do that, but never, ever, ever do that with user submitted content. If you have not done any escaping, like you have to make sure that this is clean HTML and it won't like seriously mess up your system.
Let's see.
Probably errors. Page layout is not defined, of course, because
you have to import it. True.
I did not import that.
It's always such small things, right?
Yeah.
Like
so
forgetting
we're a little
import.
bit. Yeah.
Nice.
Especially when you do this kind of like copy pasting where you're like trying to figure out. So you have this section with upcoming conferences. And then we have the claim. So that we're going to start doing. I'm going to start now by adding just an H1 here so that at least we have a title. But then I'm going to show you what I mean with the sections. Okay. Do you have like a container thing? So it's not...
yeah, you can
there you do.
The article class container.
So I think I'm going to do main for this because it's going to be so much like different type of content. It's not going to be like a full article. So let's do a main. If you don't have that
page layout, maybe you do a div because a page layout has a main.
Oh, it does. Okay, so then we just do a div. Okay, so it's a little bit better. So what we want to kind of achieve now is that we want to achieve, there is spam in our comment section.
Oh no, what is it? Yes, spammed. It's like,
I mean, boom.
Originally famous.
I know.
OMG. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to hide that and then I'm going to block this user. I'm not putting in timeout. I'm just like blocking it. So now is where the interesting parts of our like work here will happen, because we can, and I didn't know that to begin with. Usually we have like the main content here, but then we can do funny, like we can do a lot of fun stuff in the front matter. So one of the things we can do is then create a sections field. And then we could say that the section should have a title. So section 1. And we could also then give it content. I usually do MD for Markdown content, because what I can do now is that I can do section 1 MD, and I can create a underscore section 1 MD, and Gatsby will do a little bit of magic. It will see that, okay, we are referencing another Markdown node here, and it will then actually do all the Markdown magic on that node as well and pop it onto the MD. So I'm just gonna. So what is also nice, like if for longer sections, that's how you want to do it. But let's say you have a shorter section that just maybe like one liner, then you can do plain text section maybe. So like, you know, one liner.
So it's also pretty easy to sprinkle text in between stuff. Like,
yes. Yeah, if you just want like
cool.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not, it's too late to be creative with the copy, so we're just gonna I'm baby whatever gluten-free blog.
I love the gluten-free blog.
Okay, you love the gluten-free blog. So
and also whatever, it's like
whatever. So if we are lucky, this is all resourced for us. So let's have a little bit of a look. If we go back to all of our Markdown remark, we will get a section on our front matter. And then as you can see, we can choose plain, we can choose title, but then we can also choose this. We now see that the Markdown, it's not just a text or like a string. It is also now turned itself into a child Markdown remark.
I love that then we could
do HTML on that. And we could even give it a title, but since we are giving our sections titles, then these kind of section markdowns should probably just be content, but that is up to you when you like decide on your content structure.
Yeah.
So there we go. Now we have sections, and we'll see that some of them have null sections, and then other ones have, here, MD conference buddy, MD child markdown remark, HTML. So if we head on back to our Markdown file, we can now do, let's copy that. We can do sections. And then after our little kind of introduction here, we can loop over our sections. So our sections on front matter. So let's do sections. And then we can do sections, but not everyone has sections. So just to make it simple, I often do just this or inside of here with an empty array. So either you get the sections or you get an empty array and then you map over it. So if there's nothing, there's nothing to map over, so it's fine. And then we can return, let's be semantic, and we can return a section. And then that section will have kind of the same thing as we have here. We could even give that sections again, but let's not. So let's do H2 for our sections. And then another dangerously set inner HTML for the HTML. We only want to do this dangerously set inner HTML if there is HTML, and if not, we want to use that plain text. So let's use plain. And we're not getting the HTML directly, I guess, because our section, it's section, and then what is it? It's sections, MD child markdown remark. So it's section, child markdown remark, child markdown remark, and then that's where we get the HTML from. But then we can get the, let's see, I'm trying to do this while talking, which is always funny. The title, we get straight from the section. And then if there is
Mhm.
plain text, we get that straight from the section.
Okay. Mhm.
So if there is HTML, we want to dangerously set it. But then if there's plain text, we will
Mhm.
show the plain text. And then if you want that to be similar as below, we can do a div and then a p tag and then put that content on there because
Yes.
it's then it will be similar structure as below, because the paragraphs coming from the HTML will be added inside of the div. So what did I do wrong now? Plain.
I'm not sure if you did anything wrong. Oh,
I just had to save.
maybe just maybe
I had to
just
save and it
linting.
was good. So if we go back to our
Probably
conference site. Oh, it's section MD Markdown, because it's on that MD field, and then there's a Markdown, and if there is none, so we do a little bit of a what are those called? Optional? No, they're called like
optional chaining.
Optional chaining.
Yeah, it's magic. I was so happy when TypeScript introduced that, because is it now in JavaScript in the newest version, or is it still a candidate? I'm not sure, but I love it.
Oh, it doesn't want to read HTML from it because it doesn't exist. So then we'll do or an empty object, just so that we get like an undefined for the HTML. There we go. So then we have section 1 and section 2. And of course, you can now design those exactly the way you want them. And you could add even on the section here, you could be like, type or style hero or type or style, whatever
That's so cool.
you would like. So I think that is a cool way of kind of doing sections in Markdown. So you don't have to write everything in like all the because this like one liner here, we cannot have links or images or anything in here that we can't use Markdown inside of the front matter fields, but we can use Markdown if we reference another Markdown file. So in here we couldn't do a link, but inside of course the section Markdown, we could do a link. And it will be parsed as a link and all of that goodness. There it comes as a link. So that was one thing. Yeah, and another thing that is normal. Often you want cards, so then you could also have a title, section 3, that instead of just Markdown file, it could have maybe blocks, and then you reference a Markdown file in there. And then you could have those like a typical, SAS layout where you have a section and there's like 3 cards with different information. You could do it like so, for instance, because then instead of creating a section that then creates the blocks, it's nice to just see the full structure of the page inside of the main page.
Nice.
Oh,
wow.
But now it's the sneaky trick, because you thought, oh, we're good to go. We're not good to go, because you know what has happened? If you go and look at the pages created, we now have created pages for, let's see, it should be one for like about and all of the Markdown files. So there should be one for section 1. Right, but it's not. So like my big reveal is not working.
Maybe it's not up to date yet.
Well, it should be, because let's see if we do. We have that about page, so let's just try section 1. Oh,
but
when I was doing,
it's also not listed, right?
The about page, was that on the list?
No, I don't think so. So maybe the list is not up to date. Or it's not all. Does it show all?
It's not showing all our pages. It's not showing like. That is weird.
Maybe reloading.
Yeah, let's do that might be it, because it might be that it's not sourced everything. It's only because that page was referencing other pages. That's why they were coming up, but they're not sourced as pages.
Okay.
And then for your claim, for instance, you could just do for the event list, you could do you don't have to have a title, but you could have like component or
Yeah.
you know, some like custom, and then you call it claim, and then if you see custom, if custom claim, then show that claim component. So let's see if we can get all of these files showing now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So now we have
well done.
out, but then we should also have, you see index section
section
1. I mean, that is not a page, that is a section. But since we are creating a page for every Markdown file, it's also giving us, you know, these pages for the files that we just are using kind of to make our workflow easier. And if you were creating the pages yourself, you could quite easily, you know, say, I only want to create pages for, you know, index, or I only want to create pages that do not start with an underscore. So like you do with, like you do in, because I think you create pages yourself for the conferences. No, you don't. But yeah, because
No,
they're
I didn't know you could do that.
No, so to create pages, you could either use the file system route API, the parent pages like we do here, or you can create them manually. But I really enjoy using, it's very visible. Like if you go into the pages folder of your source, you're like, oh, so there's Markdown files here. You don't have to go into your node and be like, oh, did they, you know, do they create Markdown pages? So instead of saying, oh, let's only create pages for Markdown files that do not start with underscore, we can go the other way and delete pages for files that start with underscore. And obviously, manually creating only for the pages that are needed would be better performance-wise for your build if you end up having 10,000s of sections that you then end up deleting. But in our case, I don't think it's going to be such a big performance hit. So for that, we use the onCreatePage API, and we like look at the page context that is something Gatsby adds, because we are referencing the field slug inside of our parent page here. It then adds kind of that field slug onto the context, because that's what we're asking it to use for the path. So if that starts with underscore, and as you can see, they don't start with underscore as the path for the page, but it's still just, we give it that as slug. And then when the parent pages are created, it kind of makes like a URL safe path of the slug. So we can say here, okay, if it includes a slash and then an underscore. So in case we wanted to have a name that is, you know, maybe about underscore us, you know, we don't want to delete that. We only want to delete it if it starts with an underscore. And so we'll look at if there's a slash underscore in there somewhere, then we delete the page. And then they will not show up as pages.
Yeah.
And that's my Markdown landing page tricks. So let's get that claim in there just to be, because you made that nice claim.
Thank you.
So we want to use that. So we added a custom, didn't we? We added a custom. So if there's a custom,
yeah, I think it would be used instead of the H1 in that case.
Yeah, probably we don't want to add anything of the other stuff on there. So I think maybe, well, you could, because you don't have a title, because then you can like mix and match everyone. Okay, that will be fun.
Yeah, but
well, then we give the editors all the possibilities. What were you going to say?
It would replace in line 40 the H1, because on the start page, like I have this claim and the H1 conference list, because
so
otherwise you have conference body and conference body. Like,
yeah, that is true. So you'll have to make some nice, you know, maybe if there is a custom on here, then don't show that. Or you could also say, because I often do like a title portion here and then go into sections, and I also use this. But I mean, you could also say that you only have sections, and then the first one is custom.
Yeah.
we'll just skip the title altogether, and we'll also skip kind of the HTML inside of here. Yeah. And then we say if there's a custom, if custom equals claim, then we show the claim.
Nice.
But we are sourcing, so this will. So John is asking if there would be use cases for images in the Markdown. Yeah, so that is a good, like, when we do it this way, we could then have sections that have images inside of the Markdown. I'm not going to add all of those plugins now because my computer will crash, but that is definitely a good use case for like longer sections that you could put whatever you want in there. You could put, links, whatever you could put in a regular Markdown page, you can then put into that like the content part of the section. And you can also, in the similar way as we are referencing Markdown pages here, you can also, if you have all the images plugins in place, you can also reference images. So I can maybe pull up another example later. Yeah, so we've lost our, our section. Okay, I'm going to tick away. I'm going to keep on answering you in a second, John. So there, now we have the claim, and we have section 1, and we have section 2.
Oh, nice. Yeah, cool.
And then you could, of course,
cool.
make for the event, like upcoming conferences, you could make a component that is upcoming conferences with a static query. And then you could do the same thing with a custom, and then you have upcoming conferences. And then if there's an upcoming conference, you could do that. And with the solution we've done here, you obviously can use all of them because we are not restricting our our writers at all. So if you wanted to do a title in addition to the claim, so claim title, that would show up because we are not restricting anything. So that is up to you. Like if you could say that if it's a custom, you're not allowed to have a title or a plain or HTML. But sometimes I find that like are doing a lot of restrictions like that when there are few people working on it just makes it more of a hassle, because suddenly you're like, well, I do want a title, kind of a plain intro text, and then the HTML. So yes, I do want all of them. They are not mutually inclusive. And then maybe what is more usable is that the custom comes after the title. So if you wanted to have a title that is upcoming events, and then you have the custom event thing, and then another place you want to call it new conferences, then like you can change the title. So yeah.
Could we also now, because we have this whole data source, and as far as I understood it, we now could also in a component use the page query hook and access this data. So for example, if for whatever reason I would need the section Markdown text in a React component, I could also like just get it.
Yeah, so if you want, so typically then, like if we didn't have an about page, like if you had an about page, and instead of having the content, because we could use this about inside of a section, for instance. So we could reuse that whole page. We could do about us, and then do Markdown.
Yeah.
Then about MD. But then it's one down, so you have to it has to be in reference to where you are in the file system. So that's one way to reuse. But you could also, of course, grab that underscore section 1. Let's say that if that was like the team, you made one that was called underscore the team, that's never going to be its own page, but you want to put it everywhere. Then you could do a static query where you're asking for that specifically. So then you do Markdown remark, and then we want to do, I guess, slug, maybe fields, or maybe name. I think you would want to do like parent ID. No, not parent ID, but parent internal name. No, you have to figure out some way to like grab it, but you could even do it by heading. where, what am I thinking? There, fields, slug.
Yeah,
So you can do that. The slug is equal to index section 1, I believe. What's the then we wanna, well, it's not underscore, it's underscore section 1.
It is.
Wasn't that the, let's have a look
Oh,
at
but
the
maybe we remove it from the page, but
no, but that
still
is, it's just removed as a page, but it should still be,
Yeah.
oh, but it's because there's like underscores in there. So if we go back here, it matches, proper equal.
Ah, okay. It's
Yeah,
really
there we
strict.
go. And then you get,
nice.
and then you get it. And then you can head on over here and do a static query hook that is actually querying for that. And then you will have that section information and you can use it everywhere you want.
So cool. So you could, depending on what you need, you could let static pages created through this Markdown with a parrot file name. And if you say, okay, on some pages, I only need some text and the rest is like completely like complicated component stuff and logic, you could still use a static query to grab this data and have basically all your text, all of our text in Markdown files.
Exactly. And that is what I love as a Markdown.
Yes.
Intentionado, what's it called? Intentionado.
Yeah.
What's that word in America? Like where you're like really like something?
Efficient. I don't know
Affectionado?
how to pronounce it.
Affectionado?
I think so. Yeah.
I love that we are like non-English speaking Europeans doing this.
Yes.
I feel a lot less alone. Okay, so back to John's question, which is like, yes, we could have, if we put in all the image plugins, we could have images inside that would then show up inside of the HTML. But what is interesting is if you have all of the image plugins installed, you could also reference an image in the same way you do here. So you could have, let's say you want to cover, like something that big that you want to have with your section. You could do the same thing and then just image PNG, and you will then get access to, if that image exists, of course, then you will get access to that image in the same way you get child Markdown remark for the Markdowns file you're referencing. For the images you're referencing, you will get like child image sharp or whatever it's called. Like you will get the same, and then you can reference the images in there. So that is also cool. Like, so for all kind of, I don't know if it's for all, but at least you can reference Markdown files and images in the front matter, and you will get that node as a child on that field, and then you can use it. So that is super cool. And then of course you could just add an image inside of your Markdown if you want to. Well, you could add one that is not.
Yep. Let's do that.
That is not something that has to be in the file system, because we could just reference an image. Let's grab an image off of the internet. And splash.
That looks nice.
Can I like?
No.
Yeah, they have very nice images.
Really?
Is it? Where's the link? Like the regular link. I don't want to download it. Large. Oh, I have to download it? No. I can't just like reference it? Well, let's have a look at the
yeah.
We're just...
We played
there we go.
Nice.
There we go. And then we have the image there.
What? Why was it?
But if you use the Markdown, if you use the Gatsby plugins for images, you would get, you can do a lot more nice stuff with the images. Yeah. So images, absolutely. Or whatever else you put in Markdown.
I used the static image plugin from Gatsby and the logo and also the profile pic and stuff. And it's so nice because it is really fast and it has this like automatic. So I've set it, for example, to blurred or something like that. So while the actual image loads, there's a really, really small, badly rendered kind of blurred image in that position. So you don't have this jumping layouts and stuff, but it's really fast. So yeah, I love this.
Yeah, and what you would need to add to support images in your Markdown files is then to add the Gatsby transformer images, which will take all of the image files and make them into pre-make all of those different versions for you for all of your dynamic images, or like statically generated, but like dynamic. I don't know. Yeah. I have an example for that, but we're not going to do that now because my computer will crash. Yeah, so that is a Markdown marketing pages. And personally, I just like this a lot better than using MDX, maybe just because I haven't gotten used to MDX, but I like having everything in Markdown, and also because I feel like, I don't know why, but and it's not true even. It just feels like it's more reusable in a way. It's easier to copy paste this into another system or convert it into something else. But everyone I know that starts working with MDX like more consistently and ends up loving it. But there's that.
Use whatever you like.
Yeah.
Valid. I like that. I like Markdown.
So do you want to try and summarize it?
Oh my god, I can try. Ooh, no pressure here. So okay, let me see it. Our summary is in this on a like personal headcount slightly reduced Gatsby adventure today. We talked about how we can create source marketing pages, like content heavy pages from Markdown files. That's right. And you have to nod a bit to see that I'm going in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah. And Benedicta showed us how we can do that. Like, how do we source it? What do we have to put in the Gatsby configuration to actually get those files? How we use a parrot names to creating this static sourced file, and also the little trick how we can use sections in Markdown files, and also images if you want to.
Yeah,
and
I'm going to remove that for now since we have no support for that. Yeah, so this is this is almost just a data structure, but depending on how you do these, you can also add a title and text to here. And I think also it's nice in your Markdown file here, you could have different styles. So, if there are sections present, use that component. If there are no sections present, use the HTML and the title of the Markdown file. So you have to play a little bit around with what type of pages you need, because suddenly you might have blog posts and they might have sections though, but you don't want to write, you don't want to make an index page and then a section that reference the blog post. You just want to write the blog posts. So then you have to make sure that, if it's a blog post, you just want to dump out the HTML of the kind of mage Markdown page. But yeah, I really, when I found out, like, I don't know how I found this out. It was like I don't know, that you could actually reference other Markdown files inside of your Markdown files. That kind of blew my mind.
Yeah. That makes it also easier to reuse, right? And also like it creates a better overview, I feel. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to remove you. I was gonna do a double.
Oh yeah. I'm done.
It's like, and then Mirjam is gone as well. It's like it's the Queen show today.
I mean, you should do a Queen show.
Yes.
You have a Queen show called Queen show. You should.
Yeah, I do have live screencasts now on Tuesdays that are only me, and shorter where we go through a little.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing in a couple of weeks I'm going to do this just in a very much more prepared and shorter version, because I think this is pretty neat. So for the audience, and for you especially, John, thank you for being here and like asking questions. You always have very good questions. We are back next Thursday. We are not completely sure of the makeup of who's going to be here next Thursday. This was the last ahead of time scheduled with Mirjam, but we will keep on having unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunts around the Gatsby Islands every freaking Thursday at 7 o'clock Central European time, and during the summer, Central European summertime. And we're gonna mess that up this spring as well. But there, we want to have guests again on the show. Mirjam will be coming back all through the spring to show her progress and ask questions when she has Gatsby specific questions or other questions, but we try to keep it all about Gatsby here. But if you have anything that you would like help with, you could come on and we could do one of kind of similar that we've done with Mirjam. If you've made something for Gatsby that you want to show off or made with Gatsby, you could also come on and show us that on the show. And if there are any guests or topics you would like us to cover, please let us know in the comments down below. And remember to like and subscribe to the channel and the emails, because that's where all the fun stuff happens. So I'll see everyone, hopefully you in the chat next week, Mirjam, if you're not back already. And we're going to have an awesome Gatsby 2022. The year I did not turn 40.
2022, it's not nice. I don't need a 2022.
Because did I tell you that well, if you got my email, you know, but I, for a large part of the last year, thought I was turning 40 this year. I did not. I turned 39 on Tuesday, and there's an engineering joke in there about being off by 1, I guess, because suddenly, I think it was like November, I was like, but I mean, I'm born 83. That does not kind of match up with 22. This not no.
I mean, at least it didn't. I hope at least you didn't send like big invites to the
Who sends big invites? Who sends big invites these days? That's
true.
But January 2023, you're all invited to Oslo, Norway for a big kind of hallway track celebration where we just take the hallway track of a conference and we make it into a birthday party. And
oh my god, that sounds so good.
Yes. Wow. I'll book all of my neighbors' Airbnb. Like half of our neighbors have Airbnb rooms. I'll just book them all.
Do that. I'm in.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. See you around the interwebs, people. And keep on doing the good work. And I will make up some homework for you because I've forgotten to. I'll give you your last.
Yeah, do that.
I'll do it. Well, maybe your homework will be to make your front page in Markdown. And I've almost done it for you. You just have to check out the branch. Yeah. True.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds reasonable.
See you next week.
Bye.
Well, I have to click and wave. Oh my god.
Good job. I will wave.
Okay, I'm doing it. Okay, now.